Welcome back to another cryo-EM session of the practical how to prepare the samples for the cryo-EM grid. In the last session we have seen that how we will freeze the sample in the plunge freezing using the Vitrobot Mark IV equipment. So today we will see how we can clip the grids after the freezing is done. In today's session we will have three sessions. One is that we will do the clipping in dry condition, and also we will do the same thing in liquid nitrogen condition, and the same thing after the clipping is done for the grids. We will take that one to the loading station, how we will load the grid onto the cassette for the insertion of the grids onto the microscope. So we will look onto the how the assembly units and all the things we needed. We will have a closer look onto that. Okay. So here you can see the specimen transfer pedestal. We can call it also the grid clipping station also. Okay, here you can see the stage where we can keep the grid baths and the clipping where all the things will be happening. So the things what are all we need during the clipping I kept here. First we will see what are all the each equipments tools we are going to use. First one is called the grid bath fastener wand. This is one tool, and another tool also is there. This is also called another grid bath opening tool. So after clipping we will use this tool to check whether the grids are clipped properly or not. This tool is called autoloader T fastener tool. And then this one is the normal tweezer. We need to use this tweezers as pointed tweezer, then only it will hold the grids on the rim of the grid. It won't affect the uniform surface of the grid. And this is called C-clip holder wand. Okay, so these all things we need to make sure that it needs to be present during the clipping of the grids. Here you can see some of the things which we will be using for the clipping of the grids. One is called, this is called the base ring or C-clip ring, we can call this one. This will be the flat bottom at the bottom surface, and groove will be in the top side. Here you can see another one is in the shape of C-clip. This is called C-clip only. So in this base ring we will put our freezed grid, and then over to that we will use of this C-clip. We will clip this grid onto that base ring. As a result that this will form as a rigid clipped grid. So the microscope can handle these things easily without bending or anything. So here you can see the clipped grid as for example how it will be looking. So here you can see the sample transfer pedestal. In that one there will be 4 grooves, that is called 4 sample mounting positions. This is called one groove, how it will be looking like that. Here we will first we will put the liquid nitrogen. Before the liquid nitrogen filling in this area, first we will put the C-clip rings or else base rings. So after keeping the base rings, we have to make sure that whether it is properly positioned or not. So that I will demonstrating now in dry condition for your clear visualization. Okay, so this is the base ring as I said in the previous video. We have to keep it here. The flat surface should be facing at the bottom face, and then the groove will be facing towards us. So we have to keep it use of this pointed tweezer. We have to make sure that whether it kept properly or not. So once it is done, you can move this bronze rotator and then close this one. So like that way another mounting position also you have to fill it like that. In the same way you have to fill the 4 things, how many samples you have based on that. Now we can see how we have to put the C-clip onto the C-clip holder wand. So we have to take that C-clip like this way on the center. So like this way we have to put this one inside that. Once we put like this, we have to make sure that we have to adjust this height onto the periphery. Then accordingly this C-clip will be fit onto the periphery of this holder wand. So how we will make sure that we have to keep it on the flat surface, and then here to give the pressure on the top, and then it will adjust accordingly. So like that way we have to put this C-clip onto this holder wand. This is how we will check the C-clip inserted properly or not. Now you can see the C-clip holder wand with inserted the C-clip on the periphery and the things. Here is the control one. Here you can see that there is no C-clip inserted one, and then this one is the C-clip inserted one. Now we can see how we will clip the grid in dry condition. Here I am holding a grid for representative purpose. I am keeping the grid onto that base ring. Then we have to adjust it accordingly, then it will be fit properly according to the groove of the base ring. Then we have to check manually also. Once we checked that one, we can move this bronze rotator. Then we have to make sure that whether it is properly aligned or not by moving like that. In the top view you can see how this was fitted, aligned properly in the groove of that base ring. Once we make sure that grid was properly kept onto the groove of the base ring, we have to go for the clipping. Now we will use the C-clip inserted C-clip wand, holder wand, onto that hole, then press gently, then it will be clipped onto the grid. Once clipping is done, move this bronze, rotating bronze onto that side. Then use this auto loader T flat forceps and then make sure whether it is clipped properly or not. So keep it in such a way and then flip it multiple times to make sure whether it is clipped properly or not. This is one of the critical steps. If we didn't do properly, sometimes unclipped grids may be loosened inside the microscope when we are inserting. Then it will be a huge disaster for the microscope. You have to disassemble the microscope and the entire things will be problematic. Once we investigated whether it is clipped properly or not, just take use of that same tweezer and then put onto the next grid boss. This grid boss is specifically for the clipped grids to keep the things. The grooves are made specifically according to the shape of the clipped grids. So in the last session we have seen how we will clip the grids under dry condition. Now we are going to deal the things under liquid nitrogen condition. So in the liquid nitrogen condition we have to follow the lab protocols properly. So in that one we have to wear the gloves, and also you can use the liquid nitrogen gloves to avoid the burnings when you are dealing with the liquid nitrogen. Also use the goggles and also the mask so that you will be getting proper visualization when you are handling the transfer of the grids and all the things that you can see in the coming sessions. Now we will start the clipping process. First we have to make sure that specimen transfer pedestal is ready for the clipping. Then we can pour the filtered liquid nitrogen as we seen in the previously. Use the lid to close the specimen transfer pedestal or else load a clipping station. Then use of this hole, pour the filtered liquid nitrogen. Then close use of this top lid. Then periodically you start adding the liquid nitrogen onto that loading station. So that liquid nitrogen level should not cross the level of the bronze rotating on the station. Also, once you start pouring, you should not give long space to dry out that liquid nitrogen. If you give long time, there will be a chance of forming the ice contaminant flakes onto that surface of that station. Once the station is cold, you can see that fog coming out is settled down, and also the bubbling will be less when compared to the previous. Now you can open this thing and then you can transfer the freezed glit, whatever we used previous day, that one we can transfer here. Now we stored that freezed grit onto this falcon containing the liquid nitrogen inside. So now we have to transfer this immediately onto this pre-cooled chamber. So once we open this one, immediately we have to transfer here. Once we transfer the grit bath containing that freezed grit, you can see it here under the liquid nitrogen. So use this tweezer to transfer this grit baths to that stage where we will keep for the clipping. So first keep this tweezer for equilibrating to the cryo condition. You can see it is wobbling. Once it is wobbling is finished, we can take it and use it for transferring the grit baths from that bottom position to this stage. Also we will use this one, the screwdriver, to open the grit baths. That also we have to keep it for pre-cooling. So now you can see this one reached the temperature. So you can transfer by holding like this. Once we kept that groove according to that position, you can see that that groove will be positioned accordingly. Only that grit baths will fit in that position only. So once that one is finished, you can use this screwdriver to open that one. You don't need to open fully in this way of grit baths. Just to loosen that screwdriver. And then in our case, grid is there in the first slot, that means here. So you have to move this lid accordingly so that that groove will be accessible for transfer of the grid. So once you open this, you don't need for now this one. You can take this one out from this station. Now as we seen previously, we already put the base ring in this groove. That also is enabled for our clipping. Now this also, that groove is accessible for the transfer of the freezed grit. Now we have to use this pointed tweezer and then keep it in such a way so that it will equilibrate for the cryo condition. So we have to do entire process as soon as possible, or else the contaminations will start form. So once it is ready, gently take the grit onto the rim only to that position. Once you kept there, again check it properly whether it is fitted properly onto the groove of the base ring. Now you can see when I am checking on the side, if it is not moving, the grit is placed properly onto the groove. Once it is done, use any of the tweezer at the back side and then rotate the bronze rotator. Then this hole is open for the clipping. Now again the C-clip inserted C-clip holder van you have to put onto that liquid nitrogen condition for its equilibration. Once it reached the temperature, again that bubbling will be less. Also, whenever you are using this wand, you should use the dried one. If it is not dried properly, it won't allow you to clip the things properly. It will stuck in between. Then always you have to move in the liquid nitrogen condition only. You should not take outside also. Then immediately take it here and then press it gently. Now it is clipped. Then again we have to check whether it is clipped properly or not. As like the previous way, again use the tweezer back end and then rotate that one, and use this T-flat auto grit tweezer to check whether it is clipped properly or not. So I am keeping here for reaching the temperature, and time to time you have to monitor whether the liquid nitrogen level is enough for the grit to stay in the liquid nitrogen or not. It should not be more than this bronze level also. If it is more than that, means it has more chance of forming the liquid ice flakes around that, and at the same time if it is less than that means the grit will be exposed to room temperature. It has a lot of chances for the formation of crystalline ice. Now I am keeping the grit baths which we will use for the storing of that clipped grit. Now you can reach it also reaching that cryo condition. In the meantime, use of this T-flats tweezer and then take that clipped grit and keep in that groove in such a way of slanting way and then flip it multiple times. Now as we seen in the dry condition, like that same way we have to check the clipped grit whether it is clipped properly or not. If it is not clipped properly, when you are flipping like this way, that assembled clipped parts will be coming out. So that way you have to make sure that whether it is clipped properly or not before going for the insertion. Now I already kept here the grit baths which we will store the clipped grits. So use the same tweezer and then take that way and then put accordingly. So the same way you have to deal with for how many samples accordingly based on number of grits you have to repeat the same steps. So also you have to make sure that everything you are dealing under liquid nitrogen condition, and also you have to keep track of the things where your grits are keeping properly. At any point it should not come out from the level of the liquid nitrogen. Also you have to fasten this entire step with so that you can avoid the ice flakes formation, contamination things. This is the tool we will use for closing the lid of the grit baths which we stored the clipped grit. This is called the grit bath top fastener 1. So this is the lid of that grit bath. So we will put like this way and then keep under the liquid nitrogen condition again to equilibrate under the cryo condition. Once it is equilibrated, move it in such a way that and then keep it and rotate it. Now it is locked. Now you have to transfer this one to the loading station. Before transferring, we have to prepare that loading station for cryo conditions. That we will see in the next session. So in this session we have seen how we will clip the freezed grits under liquid nitrogen condition and also in the dry condition. So that grits we will take that to the loading station for transfer of the clipped grits onto that cassette, then cassette to nanocap to the microscope we will be doing. That session that we will be seeing in the next session. Thank you.